Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm talking about NFL MVP candidates once again for my Week 3 NFL MVP candidates. Like most weeks, I'm going over my top 10 NFL MVP choices, and this time I have changed up the order a little bit. Usually I order them by the percent chance I think they have of winning the MVP. This week I'm ordering them by my personal opinion on who is the most valuable player. So the rankings are generally the same as they would have been in my previous system, but now there are some differences in the rankings because it's my opinion and not what I think other people will choose. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it'll make sense as the video goes on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First player on this list is Cooper Kupp. I usually try to include at least one wide receiver because I know that the odds of them getting MVP are very low, but especially when there's someone doing as well as Cooper Kupp is right now, it's nice to include them and give them the availability to be in the videos. Sometimes I do defensive players too, but only if they're like having phenomenal years. So Cooper Kupp so far this season has 33 targets, 25 catches, 367 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's projected, at this rate, he's projected to have around 180 targets, 125 catches, and 2,000 yards. And he's projected to have more than 18 touchdowns, but I'm not going to have him getting 30 touchdowns. He could be the first 2,000-yard wide receiver ever. We have a 17-game season. He's averaging over 120 yards a game. I think 117 is what you need. So he's on pace to get 2,000 yards this year. And the thing that's holding him back from getting MVP is the fact that he's a wide receiver, the fact that Matthew Stafford is on his team, so as his stats are better, Stafford's stats are better. And so I'd put his chance of getting the MVP at about 4% at this point in the season. If he keeps this up for the rest of the year, then it will go up. If he ends up with 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, then I think his chances of MVP are fairly decent. But right now, I'd put him at about 4% because I don't know if this will be sustainable. At number 9, we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I have about a 5% chance of getting the NFL MVP. This season so far, he's 79 of 127, 807 yards, and 7 touchdowns with 1 interception, quarterback rating of 95.5. He has 18 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And I project to have somewhere around 4,400 yards, 37 touchdowns, 9 picks, quarterback rating of about 100, 450 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. He's currently 2-1. And what's holding him back is the fact that none of his stuff this season has really stood out. Last year, he was, if you combined rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and passing touchdowns, he was number 2 or 3. He was always in the mix until the very end of the season for the MVP race. So far this year, he's had a slower start than last year. A lot of people had super fantastic starts last year, though. So he's had a slightly slower start. He's not really doing anything phenomenal yards-wise, anything phenomenal touchdowns-wise. But also, he hasn't made too many mistakes. He only has 1 interception. He's just kind of coasting through at a good level. So at his current stats right now, he's not really in the MVP race. But I think that because it's Josh Allen, he's going to be consistent throughout the season, and that's going to bring his chances up as the season goes on. At number 9, we have Derek Carr. I have Derek Carr at 6% chance at number 8. He's 88 of 136 for 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, quarterback rating of 101.4. And he could break the yards record for passing yards. Much like Cooper Kupp, Derek Carr is currently on pace to break the yards record. Actually, he's on pace for 6,800 yards. I don't think he's going to get that, but I could see him getting 6,000 yards. I mean, if he averages this for 15 games, that's 6,000. I think it's 370 or something that he'll need for 17 games. But either way, he's having a phenomenal season so far. The Raiders are 3-0. His touchdowns are lower than a lot of the other candidates, though, and I think that will be what hurts him in the MVP race. Yards, in my opinion, I think that in MVP races, touchdowns mean more than yards but interceptions can have a bigger impact than touchdowns. So, like, if two guys have the same number of touchdowns and one guy has way more yards, if they have way more yards but a lot of picks, the guy with less picks will win the MVP. Less mistakes means better chances. So right now, he hasn't made any major mistakes. He only has 2 picks. He's having a decent season. And I think his touchdowns are the only thing that's keeping him from being higher. At number 7, we have Russell Wilson, who is having almost a perfect season passing, yet his team is only 1-2. He's 63 of 86 for 895 yards and 7 touchdowns with 0 interceptions and a quarterback rating of 133.6. He also has 32 yards on the ground. I project he'll have somewhere around 4,500 yards, 120 passer rating, 39 touchdowns and 7 picks, as well as 200 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. His current team record is 1-2, and what's holding him back from MVP this season is team record in passing touchdowns. He has the same number of passing touchdowns right now as Derek Carr. I think that Wilson will end up with more, just because of the way that Seattle's offense and the consistency that Wilson's had over the last however many years of his career. But the team record, like, they got to pick it up if he wants a chance. You got to be at least 11-5 for major NFL MVP chances. Have him at about an 8% chance right now. 5, 6, and 7 are all at an 8% chance. So at number 6, we have Patrick Mahomes with the same chance, in my opinion, as Russell Wilson right now. Generally because the stats are very similar. 78 of 111 for 940 yards and 9 touchdowns with 3 picks. Quarterback rating of 111.7. He has 10 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. And I think that he'll have somewhere around 5,100 yards, quarterback rating of 110, 45 touchdowns and 14 picks, and 300 rushing yards with 3 rushing touchdowns. Team record right now is 1-2, and the things holding him back are his team record potentially. I think the Chiefs will pick it up. They'll probably have a pretty good season record-wise, but as of right now, he's only 1-2, and he's thrown a lot of picks. He's thrown 1 a game. So the difference here is that Mahomes has about 40 extra yards and 2 more touchdowns, but Wilson has 3 less picks, and he's playing much more efficient football. Mahomes has 111 passes attempted, and Wilson only has 86. So that's a 25 attempt difference for 40 yards. So yeah, Wilson's playing much more efficient football, but I think Mahomes has a better chance of finishing off the season with a good record based off of how their teams are playing right now. And at number 5, we have Kirk Cousins. He's right in the mix with those two. He's right in the middle of yards, right in the middle of touchdowns. Similar attempts to Mahomes, 0 interceptions. So he's less efficient than Wilson, but he's slightly better in both stats with no interceptions. So he's like, all 3 of them are like right in the same area. And Cousins is also 1-2. So I think that all 3 of them are currently like in the same boat right now. I think Cousins will have about 3,600 yards, quarterback rating of 110, 40 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Again, less picks than Wilson, less picks than Mahomes, more yards than Wilson, less yards. Like, he's like right in the middle. I think that being right in the middle like that gives him a slight edge. I also think that his team has more potential to improve than the Seahawks. Again, I think that the Chiefs right now have the best chance of making the playoffs and doing well, but I think that the Vikings have a better chance of making the playoffs and doing well than the Seahawks do, just because of the way that the Vikings offense is set up. You have amazing wide receivers. You have Dalvin Cook. You have Kirk Cousins. You have Alexander Matheson, the backup running back that's even good when Dalvin Cook is injured. It's just a fantastic offense, and it's easy to build a defense around that. And Seattle, and neither this team or Seattle's team has had fantastic defense so far this year, but I think that the Vikings have a better possibility of stepping it up defensively. And number 4, we have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray currently is 78 of 102 for 1,005 yards and 7 touchdowns, as well as 4 interceptions. He's currently tied in 3rd in the league behind Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, who both have 7. He currently has a quarterback rating of 113.4 regardless of those interceptions, and he has 17 carries for 70 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he'll have about 4,800 yards, 110 passer rating, 40 touchdowns, 15 picks, and 500 rushing yards for 15 rushing touchdowns. His team is currently 3-0, not 1-0. And what's holding him back is his interceptions. Again, Drew Brees has lost MVP on interceptions before. Matthew Stafford has lost the MVP on interceptions before. Interceptions can kill you in the MVP race. And so I think that's why Kyler Murray, I think that currently he would beat out Mahomes, he would beat out Cousins, he would beat out Wilson just because of how much of the offense of the Cardinals offense runs through Murray. But those interceptions are going to kill him later on in the season if he can't turn that around. At number 3, we have Thomas Edward Brady the second, I think his name is, or something. He's 97 of 141 for 1,087 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a quarterback rating of 109.3. He has 20 carries for 1 touchdown as well. And I project that he'll somewhere around 5,500 yards this year, 105 passer rating, 50 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 50 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. The reason why I have a lot of people or close to or over 5,000 yards projected is because of the 17-game season. I think that Brady this year has a potential to break the yards record, as long as Derek Carr doesn't also break him in the same season. I think that they both have chances of breaking the yards record this year. Neither of them have had below 270 yards in any game, and that's plenty to get 5,400 yards in 17 games. I think he'll have somewhere around 50 touchdowns and 10 picks in those 17 games, and his team record is also not 1-0. It's 2-1. What's holding him back right now? Nothing. I think that right now Brady has one of the best chances for the NFL MVP in the league. He's actually tied with my number 2 most deserved player right now for the chance. I think that him and my number 2 both have the highest chance of getting the NFL MVP. Number 1, again, this is the only difference, is who I think deserves it most and who I think has the best chance. Right now I think that Brady deserves it the third most and has one of the best chances. At number 2, we have Matthew Stafford. Same chance as Brady, 17%, but I think Stafford deserves it just a little bit more. Currently, he is 66 of 94 for 942 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Quarterback rating of 129.8. He's currently undefeated with the Rams, and he beat Brady head-to-head. And because he beat Brady head-to-head, because he only has that 1 pick, because of how efficient his offense has been, with 10 yards per attempt, Brady's yards per attempt is nowhere near 10. It's like 7. And Stafford has the same number of touchdowns, almost as many touchdowns. I think he'll end up with just under the same number of yards, just under the same number of touchdowns. But those interceptions again, and the quarterback rating is what's going to put Matthew Stafford over the top. The efficiency, the protection of the football, the ability to lead the offense to wins, I think will give Matthew Stafford the slight edge. The only thing holding him back, I think, is Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp has a fantastic season and it overshadows Stafford's year, then I think that might potentially be an issue with him getting the MVP, but I don't think that people usually pay attention to that. When Brady had 50 touchdowns, they weren't talking about how Randy Moss had 26 of them, so it's only a slight thing, but I figured I'd put it in there as well. And at number 1, we have Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry, so far this season, deserves the MVP the most. I actually think that Derrick Henry deserved the NFL MVP last year. But it's not last year anymore. I think that he deserves it currently right now this year. So far this season, he has 80 carries for 353 yards and 3 touchdowns, as well as 12 catches for 105 yards. He is not really a receiving back. He usually has like 1 to 200 yards in the season. He has 105 yards in 3 games. I think for projections, he's going to carry the ball 450 times. The NFL record is 416. There's an extra game this year, but Henry is averaging 27 carries per game. In a 17-game season, that is a lot of carries. I think that he is going to have at least minimum of 400. And with what he's averaging for yards per carry, that's like almost 2,100 yards. I put his yards per carry up a little bit higher than it is now because I think that it's going to trend upward, but I think that he'll have over 2,000 yards once again this season. I have him at 17 touchdowns, so touchdowns is kind of arbitrary. He has 1 touchdown per game so far, so I just kind of kept that the same. And then I have him getting 40 catches for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, similar to what he's had so far. His team's currently 2-1, and I just wanted to go over the real impact that Derrick Henry has had on this team. Since 2018, the Titans have played 38 football games. That's not right. They've played more than 38 football games. Since 2019. 2019, 2020, and 2021. They've played 38 football games. They've played... Derrick Henry has... Yeah, they've played 38 football games. Derrick Henry has played in 37 of them. 4 playoff games and 34 regular season games. When Derrick Henry rushes for 100 or more yards, they are 19-1. And when Derrick Henry does not have 100 yards in a game, the Titans are 4-14. That's insane. The Titans are 19-1 when Derrick Henry has 100 yards. And they are 4-14 when he doesn't. They have not lost a single game when Derrick Henry has had above 75 yards. No, they haven't won a single game when he's had below 75 yards. And they haven't lost a single game when he's had above 120. So 100 is like the number. They win almost every game he has 100. They lose almost every game he doesn't. They have never won a game when he's had below 75, and they have never won a game when he's had above 120. It's insane. So just the fact that Derrick Henry's pure presence on the field being a Derrick Henry is insane. And he's missed one game in the 3 seasons so far. He's missed one game. And that one game, they had 150 rushing yards and lost. So they had over 100 rushing yards in the one game Derrick Henry was not a part of, and they still lost. That's how important Derrick Henry is to this offense and to this team. And so I think that he is the most valuable player in the NFL right now. They can't win without him. They cannot. I mean, the same argument can be made with Brady, how they were 7-9, and then Brady came in and they won the Super Bowl. But once, Derrick Henry, if they give him the ball enough, they will win. That's just it. So, yeah. Those are my takes on the NFL. Oh, I have him at a 12% chance because quarterbacks usually get it more than running backs. So I have him below Brady, below Matt Stafford, and below Kyler Murray for chances right now. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of my MVP choices and who you think will win the NFL MVP. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really excited for Patriots-Bucks on Sunday night. So make sure to watch that game because I know I will. So yeah, thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.